in the New Testament, we often find Jesus is asking questions of people that seem a little bit irrational. Like he'll ask them things that, like, really? For instance, he might ask a blind man, "What do you want me to do for you?" Or a beggar, "Do you want to be made whole?" One time he asked a crippled man, "What do you want me to do for you?" It's like, well, this is obvious, isn't it? And there's another time he asked a woman, "Where's your husband?" when he knew she had had 5 husbands and the one that she was living with now was not her own. So what's he doing? He's going deeper. He's trolling deep. In asking a blind man whether he wants to see, what he's really trying to ask him is, are you willing to give up your whole identity as a beggar? I mean, that's all he knows, right? Every day it's the same routine. He gets up and he's going to the same place every day. He takes his mat down, takes his little cup, and he's begging for coin. And he gets a little bit of coin, he grabs something to eat, and every day, day in, day out, this is what he knew. The story about Bartimaeus, Bar's son, Timaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind Bart, we call him. It can be found in Mark chapter 10, and it's verse 46 to 52. And it kind of reads like this, that they came to Jericho, and Jericho was a place where they grew a plant that was known to heal blindness or help cure blindness. And so there was a lot of blind people in Jericho coming down trying to be healed. As he was leaving Jericho with his disciples, there was this great crowd following him, and Bartimaeus was a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside. And when he heard that Jesus of Nazareth was coming, like he could maybe feel the dust or taste it in his mother, he knew something was going on. What's going on? It's Jesus of Nazareth. So he began to cry out, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." And many people rebuked him, telling him, "Just be quiet, shut up." But he cried out all the more, the Bible says, all the more, "Son of David." So he gave him his due. He's the son of David. He's the Messiah. "Have mercy on me." And Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." And so they called the blind man, saying, "Hey, dude, take heart, man. He's calling you." And throwing off his cloak, remember that, he sprang up and he came to Jesus. And Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And the blind man said to him, "Rabbi, let me recover my sight." "What do you want me to do for you?" And Jesus said to him, "Go your way, your faith has made you well." And immediately he recovered his sight and he followed him on the way. Now, the thing I like about the story is that he threw off his cloak, because what was his cloak, man? That was his identity, who he was. He was a blind beggar. This was his cloak. He threw that off and he followed him. He recovered his sight and he followed Jesus along the way. That's what I love about it. He was willing to give up his whole identity as a blind beggar. The question that Jesus asked led him to be open to say, "I want to see. Please restore my sight." And it seems obvious, but there was so much more there, because see, if he gave up begging, he would be giving up his livelihood, so to speak. He would actually have to go now and work with his hands and be a responsible, contributing citizen of the community that he lived in. He was probably as responsible and contributing as much as he could be as a blind man, but now he's got to work for a living. And boy, some people, their identity is wrapped up in receiving what they can get from other people. I see people all the time that have the system figured out. And every summer we deal with transients that come through, sometimes the same guys over and over again, who are just going around the countryside, literally probably the whole country of Canada, traveling around to every community, getting what they can from good-hearted people. It usually starts with churches. There was this one transient fellow one time that came through 100 Mile years ago several times, and he would come around, he'd make all the rounds, all the churches, and get what he could from every pastor who was kind to them and him. He was very good at what he did. He would name drop other pastors from other communities that I'd go, "Yeah, I know him." And then he had traveled through these places, and the ministerial talked to him, and we talked this through ourselves, and we said, "Look, we added up the bucks that we were giving out to this guy every time. He was making pretty good money off the benevolent funds that we had." And so one time we decided, well, we got to change our strategy here. One of the pastors asked him about work, saying, listen, you know, if you got a job and put in as much energy as you put into this, what you're doing now, and as much time, you could actually, you know, you could actually be quite successful. And he told the pastor, he said, that's not very Christian of you to say. You're supposed to just help me. Wow. See, he didn't want to give up the identity, his role of being, quote unquote, a blind beggar. I wonder if Jesus asked that guy, what do you want me to do for you? Or what do you want from me? I wonder what he would say, how he'd respond. See, Jesus really does troll the deep waters of our soul, our history, our environment, our circumstances, the things we grew up with. He trolls deep and he asks us questions that get us to kind of come forth with the truth and about the depth of our being. And he's the wonderful counselor. He ain't going to bring something up that's going to be painful forever. He brings things up that might be painful to remember, but only to heal us and make us whole. Do you realize that he waits for us to come to him? In Isaiah 30, verse 18, we see that God is sitting and waiting for us to approach him. In the Amplified Version, it reads like this: therefore the Lord earnestly waits, expectant, looking and longing to be gracious to you. And therefore he lifts himself up so he may have mercy upon you and show loving kindness to you. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed, happy, fortunate, to be envied are all those who earnestly wait for him, who expect and look and long for him, for his victory, his favor, his love, his peace, his joy, and his matchless, unbroken companionship. Wow. I mean, take a moment and read that again, or pause and play it back again and listen to it again, because that's powerful. We always think that we have to wait for God to do anything. You're going to wait for him to act. And he says, no, he's waiting for you. He's waiting for us to come to him, to declare openly and honestly ourselves, to declare where we're at, to confess our sin, to give him everything that we know to give him, to allow him to change us, to change our name, our identity, from sinner to saint, from deceiver to overcomer. He's waiting for us to come to him because, why? He longs to have compassion on us. I mean, that is crazy love. That's crazy good. Has God ever asked you these kinds of questions? What is he up to? What is he trying to get at with you? Let him do it. He's a wonderful counselor. Let him be gracious to you. Let him be merciful to you and bring you forward in the next step of your journey.